right through a channel of light fluid. It's time to return to Frostfang. And last time, Eric was trying to get some evidence from NeveN, which led to a massive fire in the archives. Is everyone okay? Are the archives safe? Let's find out. The voices. I'm surrounded by voices. So I try to sit up. All I can manage to do is cough my lungs out, as I feel my ribs are about to burst. Easy, boy. I'm trying my best to see what's happening. My vision is blurry and the voices are getting louder. Semi.
Are you alright?
Finally, the silhouette of the fennec fox begins to appear, then now to the prince right next to her. I think... I realise I'm lying in my bed, where a moment ago I was in NeveN's office. Then I remember the bear who pulled me out of the flames. NeveN, he... Once again I'm seized by a cough as Melbjorn approaches to take my hand.
He won't be a problem anymore. He's dead.
Finally, I can look at the bear as I see out of the corner of my eye that Semi is watching me with a worried look. What? What happened?
The flames reached him before we could get to him.
What about his documents?
Some of them are damaged, but we should be able to recover most of it.
I can only let out a huge sigh of relief as I try to remember everything that happened. How do you find me? Well, Sven came to warn us as soon as he realised that NeveN wasn't going to show up for the meeting you'd arranged for your plan. That last word is uttered with a touch of disdain. I suppose I could have prepared myself better.
In any case, you should consider yourself lucky. We found traces of inkstone on NeveN's corpse. He could have killed you with it.
He tried, several times. Well, his guards tried at least. Not him directly. Which is strange, now that I think about it. The only time he used his powers, it wasn't directly against me. It was to intensify the fire in his archives. The bear pouts pensively as he glances at Semi, who crosses her arms and frowns.
It could mean that what's in those documents is potentially more important than the death of an avatar. That's no small thing.
Is there anything else you should tell us? Well, his guards didn't use their brands, and in my visions, they tried to kill me. But I'm not sure that was their goal. I think they wanted to capture me first and foremost. I imagine they wanted to avoid attracting attention. Using their powers in such an enclosed space would have been risky. But if they tried to capture you, that also implies they had the means to extract you from the castle.
Not to mention they probably had an idea of what they were going to do with you next.
Now that I've regained my senses, I'm getting out of bed to stretch my legs. Do you think Mechad could be behind this? That's the main hypothesis. But why now? The prince sits up, growling. I can see he's doing his best to contain his anger.
Mechad's attack weakened us, so NeveN must have wanted to rush this operation, especially if he realised you were investigating him.
What worries me, that he wasn't the type to rush things. So if he thought this attack was enough to make us vulnerable to this kind of scheme, all of our enemies will see it as weakness too.
Well, luckily for us, it made him commit mistakes. Between this failed capture and the fact he hired Sven without knowing whether he was trustworthy or not. Well, let's make sure the other traitors we have at the court fall into the same trap.
I'm only now realising this whole mess won't improve Melbjorn's image in the eyes of the nobility. But I also know that this is what could push him to make a mistake. It's better to wait until we have solid evidence for attempting anything. But what did you tell the nobles in the meantime? That the archives accidentally caught fire and that Edwin died in the blaze. I imagine they won't be satisfied with that for very long.
I'll make do with it as long as we don't have a better truth to give them. And to my great sorrow, Aeon is reconsidering Bray's release in order to calm any tension that might result from the squirrel's death.
I can see in the bear's eyes how much he hates having to say that. Makes me wonder what Brace could have done to deserve such hatred from him.
Anyway, Sammy, can I have some time with Eric? I have some important matters to discuss with him.
The Fennec shakes her head while giving me a strangely cold look. Say what you have to say, but let's not linger too long. Our enemies are on the move and they won't be waiting.
Don't worry, it'll be quick.
She finally bows before exiting the room, leaving me alone with Melbjorn, who sighs deeply.
Was it really necessary to get yourself involved with Edwin in such a way?
It's too late to back out now. I told you I was going to take a closer interest in the affairs of the kingdom. Now I have.
You're lucky you only have a few singed hairs, nothing that can't grow back. You could have lost much more, and so could I.
Even though I can see the Melbjorn is trying to hide the reproachful look with which he is observing me, he is not succeeding in the least. I made my choice.
I know, and I was involved in it, in a way, so I can hardly blame you. Well, I guess what's done is done. Just promise me that you'll get some rest.
I promise.
Well, once you've regained your strength, I'd like you to continue training with Vol. The way Edwin acted makes me think this isn't over yet, so I want you in top form.
Do you think I'll be able to continue training with Gideon soon, too?
The bear's expression darkens to my question. It's too early to say. His condition is stabilized, but the injuries are more serious than we thought yesterday. I'm not even sure he'll be able to walk again.
Oh, is he responsive?
Oh, yes and no. As my father said, he's conscious. But he's silent, and I don't know if it's because of his injuries or because of pride.
I guess I shouldn't be surprised, coming from Gilead. His warrior prowess is everything he is in his eyes. I doubt he wants to live in a state where he can't fight. I still can't visit him.
I don't think that's a good idea right now, Rick. He's fighting his own battle at the moment. The one against his own mind.
I have a hard time hiding my disappointment. After all, what good am I if I can't be there to support a friend, at least with words?
Don't worry. There will come a time when he needs us, and I'm counting on you to harp on him about everything you've done since then. I'm sure he'll be proud of you.
Following these words, the prince gives me a warm smile while caressing my face with the tips of his fingers, and I can't help but press my muzzle against the palm of his hand and sigh.
We will prevail. Together.
You're right. There's no way I'm going to let any more horrors happen within these walls. He nods before giving me one last smile, then heads for the exit when he sees Semi poking her head through the door. Looking out the window, I realise that the day is already well underway. Damn. And I'm supposed to rest? Well, come to think of it, Melbjorn never specified what that meant. I can rest just fine while chatting with my friends. After a quick wash, I head to Aket's room. Unfortunately, his door is closed. Who else can I visit? Tenok is probably busy as can be with everything that's happened, and Vekad is locked up. Not to mention the guards probably have orders not to let me near him. So with my arms hanging limply at my sides, I realise most of the Anthracans whose company I enjoyed are no longer here. I miss Rowan's cheerful mood, and Gillian's grumpiness as well. Fuck. I shouldn't be thinking about that. To keep myself busy, I take a tour of the castle, even passing by the archives to find them completely secured by a whole troop of guards. and all along the corridor, entire cohorts of pages are busy moving boxes full of documents. I don't think Edwine's ambush would have such an impact on what is essentially the beating heart of the kingdom. In fact, I even wonder how much knowledge will disappear completely with the death of the old squirrel. I wish he hadn't died, so that he could answer for his actions. But that's probably just my curiosity talking. What could have possibly driven him to do what he did? The question will probably never be answered now. So it's with a heavy heart that I resume my journey, doing my best to smile at the guards as I pass by. After all, I'm supposed to set an example. If I don't behave like a hero, who will? But inside, I feel like I'm just a scared kid. Just like them, probably. Gillian made it clear to me that this was our lot in life. Once back in my room, I collapsed onto my bed with a long sigh. Maybe a nap wouldn't be such a bad idea after all. But I don't even have time for that since someone knocks on my door. Come in. The prince's gigantic frame quickly appears in the doorway as he smiles at me wearily. Back already? Not that I'm complaining.
This day already seems endless. But at least all this chaos gives me the opportunity to visit you.
And what exactly is the reason for your presence?
Aeon asked me to take care of Walper, Tenok's brother.
Take care of him in what way?
Well, not with an axe, that's for sure. Which is a shame, because that would probably be much easier.
Melbjorn. The bear can't help but let out a cavernous laugh as he joins me after closing the door.
Sorry, I feel like my humour is getting a little darker with time. But the fact is, I'd like you to come with me to meet him.
Meet Tenok's brother? Why?
Well, I thought it'd be an opportunity for you to see our diplomacy up close.
After a moment's hesitation, Melbjorn clears his throat.
And he also asked if he could see you.
That's flattering. I don't really see why.
I imagine it has something to do with your brand.
Oh, I tend to forget that it's a curiosity for others. If only people won't see me purely for my talents as a singer. For once.
I see you that way. And as a wonderful partner, too.
The prince gives me a charming grin. I can't help but smile back. You really need me to come,
Let's just say to facilitate the situation.
After nodding, I follow the bear, who guides me through the corridors, then up the stairs to the floor above mine. Why isn't Aeon taking care of it himself? After all, it must be a pretty important matter, welcoming the second potential heir to the Empire.
He is busy with our current situation because of Edwine. And he also gave me the choice between this and visiting the Macadian delegation. And you understand that
it would be a bad idea, yes. No offence, but I think it takes some amount of tact to talk with them. Melbjorn gives me an embarrassed look before looking around.
What? I don't have any tact now?
With the Macadians? I have my doubts. Out of the corner of my eye, I can see that the prince is doing his best to hold back a snarl. After all, he must remain as noble as possible where his subjects can see him. But even though I keep my ears open and my eyes peeled, I don't see anyone else but us at the moment.
You'd share my caution if you'd seen what that Wathier brought you.
The Wathier?
Ugh. The Wathier is one of the potential heirs of the throne of Mechad. Although, according to our information, she has very little chance of reaching it, as there's a whole line of candidates who are more powerful than her politically.
And what did she bring?
2 slaves. She brought them to test us, that's obvious.
Slaves? And you let her do that?
You know, Aeon is extremely cautious. That's even more true since Keluthan's attack. If it were up to me, those Macadian freaks would already be hanging from a rope. That might be a bit extreme.
The bear sighs deeply before continuing.
Anyway, I will adapt to the situation if there's real need to talk to them. Whether I like these people or not, they remain one of the major powers in Telson, if not the major power.
Which is why it's important to get along well with Kazal.
Which is also why it's important for a certain rabbit to come with me and satisfy the expectations of a somewhat hostile heir.
He can't be that bad if he comes from the same family as Tenoch.
Those two are like night and day, but you'll realize that soon enough.
Oh, so I don't need to get a lesson on how to behave before I go to meet him? Aren't you worried things might get out of hand? As Melbjorn gives me a jaded look, I just smile at him and wink.
I'm putting my trust in you by taking you to this meeting. Don't abuse it.
I'd never do that. Despite the doubt that now seems to inhabit him, the prince continues to walk forward, sighing.
At least you'll be in your element. Not even more than me.
Don't be silly. You know very well how to behave in a social setting. I've seen it with my own eyes.
I try to approach things logically. Sometimes it works. For other times, our Anthracan nature makes us somewhat unpredictable. That's the kind of situation I'm afraid of.
Is this Walper that unstable?
Unstable, no. More like guided by his emotions, especially when it comes to Tenoch.
Is their relationship so complex? The ambassador's always seemed easygoing to me. Although, come to think of it, he is very flamboyant. In my opinion, it's probably difficult to find a place next to him. And I know something about that because I'm the same. Once again, the bear struggles not to smile too much at my remarks, for his lips begin to twist despite his composure.
I don't have the details, but there's some kind of rivalry between the two. And it's not just because they're both set to inherit the throne of Kazal.
Before I have time to respond, I realize that we're arriving in the corridor reserved for the high-ranked guests. A guard wearing a strange-looking armour and wielding some kind of curved sword is guarding the door, but we pass by him without Melbjorn stopping. I even get the impression he's actively trying to ignore the guard. Could this be the Wathir's room? Finally, the prince stops in front of a door a little further on, and I follow him closely, eager to see the ambassador's brother. Once inside, we pass two guards, a feline with spotted fur like I've never seen before, and what looks like some sort of crocodile. Then, once in the room itself, I suddenly feel like I'm standing in front of Tenoch, or rather someone with the same shape. But on second thought, Melbjorn's description of the lizard seems accurate to me. He's the exact opposite of Tenoch in the way he carries himself. His shoulders are tense and his stare is hard. I feel like I'm facing a soldier. As for his mood, well, let's say that it seems to be as blue as his scales.
Prince Walper, I'm glad to see you in good health, despite the harsh climate of our lands.
Prince Melbjorn, thank you for your welcome. Your castle is most charming. Even if it's meant to be a compliment, I see no warmth in the lizard's expression. I also appreciate the presence of NeveN's avatar at your side. I'm not sure how to behave around him, so out of habit I bow slightly. Let's be a little sycophantic, both for the sake of the kingdom and to please Melbjorn. It's an honour to meet you, Prince Walper. The Imperial heir looks me up and down. Even though I try to gauge his reaction, he remains impassive.
Eric is not only branded by NeveN, he is also our royal bard. You should hear him sing. It's a delight for the ears.
As the bear smiles at me, I do my best not to blush, knowing full well that these compliments are not just empty words. I would love to hear that in more auspicious times, but I understand that the last few days have been quite turbulent here. I would like to offer my condolences to your soldiers.
Thank you. It's true that we've seen better days, but it's nothing we can't handle.
Especially with my brother around. I think this is the first time I've heard a hint of emotion in Walper's voice. It doesn't seem to be a positive one. I thought he wouldn't talk about Tenok in front of me. Does he know that I know? Anyway, let's sit down. The prince sits in an armchair, and I do the same, but not without wondering what Holpo really wants from me. As heirs, I think it's important to discuss the fate of our respective kingdoms. I understand the future of Frostfang is in your hands, Prince, more than it is in those of your fathers.
My fathers are still in power for the moment. I'm afraid I can't negotiate much without their consent, if that's the reason for your presence.
For now, you're right. But even though I don't wish it on you, things can change very quickly. I prefer to take a long-term view. Does he know about the state of Lusk? It's impossible to say for now, but he could very well be implying it.
Well, let's not forget that you are the second heir. If I had to deal with someone for the future, I would rather bet on Tenok.
The two princes look at each other impassively, and yet I sense a tension in the air. From an outsider's perspective, these two seem to have more similarities than they might think. According to what people say, my brother spends his days in your kingdom frolicking, and we both know that's not why he's here.
You're not implying you're having your future emperor watch within our walls, are you?
Rumours travel fast, and you know as well as I do that Tenok is not known for his discretion. So no, there's no need to have him watched. But that's not the point. While he's here doing everything but what he's supposed to be doing, I'm in Kazal forging alliances and strengthening my influence. In other words, I am no stranger to my own people. I'm sure you know how important it is for a leader to be legitimate in their eyes. It's subtle, but something in the crease of the lizard's eyes tells me that these words are a jab at the legitimacy of the leaders of Frostfang. Maybe it's just my imagination, though. I read everything Melbjorn told me. I can't help but think about it. I suppose he'll interpret it that way too.
So what, you're going to prevent Tenok from ascending to the throne? The blood ties have no value in your kingdom?
I know, I have no hatred for my brother. I just don't think he's cut out to be a ruler. But I've also heard that you and him get along well.
Then why try to convince me?
Precisely because you know him. Isn't the way he acts the best proof of his lack of reliability?
I've never had to complain about his talents as ambassador. Quite the contrary. He may have unconventional methods, but I'm only looking at the results. And then, as you noted, he's an avatar and not just any avatar. He's Argon's avatar. I believe your culture holds them in high esteem.
Hopper lets out a sigh I can barely hear, but it doesn't escape me. Traditions can sometimes hinder progress. You know that as well as I do.
Perhaps for you, but your people will see in him a fiery future, if you'll pardon the pun. There is nothing more tenacious than a legend that comes to life.
Provided that said legend does not immolate itself at the slightest inconvenience. This time the lizard's gaze turns to me. I feel as if it is piercing right through me. From avatar to avatar, you have surely shared some experiences. How do you manage the repercussions of your powers? And has my brother made any progress on this issue? Shit, he's not just here to see my powers. Could he have identified me as Melbjorn and Tenok's weak point?
Eric trains alongside Vol. He doesn't share the details of his powers with Tenok, and vice versa.
Come on, let him answer. I wouldn't want to think you're hiding things from me. This time Holper flashes a broad grin at Melbjorn. I realize he's doing it purely to try to throw him off balance, given his lack of expressiveness up to this point. But it seems the Frostian prince isn't falling for it, so he remains as stoic as ever.
Holper, you would not have come all this way yourself if your position were as comfortable as you claim. Remember that you are a guest within these walls.
Oh, but I didn't come all this way just to talk. My primary mission is to find out about my brother, and it is a mission that was given to me directly by my father, the Emperor. So, can you at least tell me how Tenok is doing with his powers, Avatar of NeveN? My name is Eric, and as your brother, I don't know much about him. As the prince told you, I rarely see him use his powers, but when he does, it's very impressive, I can assure you. I don't doubt it. I've seen it with my own eyes. My room still remembers it. That said, you raise an interesting point. He rarely has the opportunity to use his powers. It's a shame, because that's exactly why he's here, to practice mastering them.
Officially, I remind you that Tenok is here as an ambassador. He can't just demonstrate his abilities in front of the entire court, or his identity will be revealed very quickly. I'm about to talk about the arena fight between Gideon and Tenok, but decided not to. Let's not add to the problem. I can't speak for Tenok when it comes to the progress of his powers and his control over them, but I can tell you one thing. Just a few months ago, I was nothing more than a wandering bard with no brand and no military training. Yet, the day before yesterday, I stopped a threat that even the guards of this castle are unable to defeat. I could never have reached its potential without the teachings of the kingdom, and your brother benefits from those exact same lessons. Perhaps there are a few omissions, or even outright lies in what I say, but nothing he can verify. I have heard of a few rumours about your feats indeed. The brand of NeveN, the one who controls time. I'm struggling internally not to correct him as I was corrected by Tess. It's better to make sure he knows as little as possible. I understand a lot of very powerful people would love to have that power in their hands. I've already been made aware of that a few times. Not enough, clearly. We offer Eric and your brother all the means necessary for their protection, if that's what you're worried about.
Walpole lets out a long sigh, and I see his features soften as he looks away, as if trying to hide his face. Tenok doesn't have much to fear, anyway.
Indeed.
There is silence for a few seconds, and I see the lizard rubbing his eyes as he inhales deeply. How is he?
He was fine till he heard about your arrival.
Whatever he thinks of me, I'm concerned about him.
Why not talk to him then?
Maybe I will. Eventually.
I can arrange you to meet in a discreet location.
Quickly, Walpole regains his composure. We'll see about that, if I have time. After all, I still have to meet your fathers.
Luska's indisposed at the moment, so I imagine he'll be alone with Aeon. I advise you to go easy on him because he's had some busy days lately.
The two princes smile politely to each other, and Walpole nods. Thanks for the advice. Unfortunately, it's time for me to get ready.
Melbjorn stands up, and I do the same. It was a pleasure, Prince Walpole. I hope we'll have other opportunities to talk, when the time is right for it.
Likewise, Prince Melbjorn. And I haven't given up hope of convincing you, sooner or later. After letting out a small laugh, the lizard accompanies us to the exit. But I wait until we're far enough away to speak to the bear again. That was a little tense, wasn't it?
Oh, on the contrary, I thought it was quite cordial. I've seen much worse.
That's reassuring.
I witnessed former tribal chiefs draw their weapons after a heated discussion. Several times. Believe me, it was a polite exchange. And frosty in terms, anyway.
But you're betting a lot on Tenok's success.
I don't really believe in my father's politics. Sure, they favour Tenok, but they prefer to play it safe by treating Walpole almost as his equal. As for me, well, Tenok is an ally.
You could say he's a friend, you know.
He is, in a way, but he'll be the leader of another nation if he gets his way. I can't afford to get too deeply involved with him. But to get back to what I was saying, in addition to being a natural ally, I think Tenok's powers are far more important than anything Walpole will do to obtain the throne. I see a look of sadness on Maelbjorn's face as he utters these words. He knows a thing or two about legitimacy, and also about the importance of a brand when it comes to holding political power. I still wonder what's going on between Tenok and him. You told me it wasn't just about the throne's inheritance, right? I imagine there are one or two family dramas on top of that. Do
you think he's pretending to care about him?
No idea. What I do know is he can't show himself in Tenok's presence, let alone act friendly toward him.
Why is that?
Well, to some it could be a sign that he approves of his brother as the future emperor. I imagine that's what he wants to avoid, which is why I suggested a discreet meeting with him.
Everything always comes down to the smallest details. You'll never convince me that this is a life worth living.
And yet, it's the one we are living every day.
The bear smiles slightly as he looks at me, and I return his gaze with a hint of amusement. You're really one of the few people who makes this prospect a little more appealing.
You little charmer.
I can't help but let out a quiet laugh before quickly gathering myself when I hear voices coming from around the corner. We pass a few nobles before arriving in front of my room. But just as I'm about to wish Maelbjorn a good day, a young guard comes rushing towards us at full speed. Lord Maelbjorn, a lady sent me asked me to find you urgently. The prince gives me a worried sideways glance, and I can't help but thinking about everything that's already happened in the last few days.
Where is she?
She is waiting in your personal library, my lord.
Thank you. You are dismissed, soldier.
The guard salutes Maelbjorn in a rather unmilitary manner before leaving with a brisk step, and the bear heads for the library. As for me, well, I start to follow him without really knowing if I'm supposed to. Do you know what's going on?
Well, it's in my library that we set up the study centre for the documents archived by Edwine, the ones he tried to destroy by fire. So, there's a chance we'll know more about his operations very soon.
I hope all the chaos caused by my visit to the squirrel's office will serve a purpose. I hope that Semi was able to find something useful. And at the same time, I have some kind of inexplicable fear deep inside me, twisting my guts. Before I have time to think about it, Maelbjorn rushes into the library. We find a dozen Anthracans busy around a table covered with pieces of paper with slightly burnt edges. I blink to make sure what I'm seeing. Aeon is among them, working on sorting through the scraps of documents. Before I have time to say anything to the prince, Semi joins us, accompanied by her son, Odu. Prince Eric, we have new information.
If my father is here, I suppose it's important.
Indeed, Edwin had more influence than we imagined. Is that surprising, given he had control of the royal treasury?
I know the idea of making a trade to the kingdom's treasure seems strange, even downright stupid. We kept a constant eye on him and what he was doing with our gold.
And from the outside, everything looked fine. The Fennec beckons us to approach another table, where the restored documents have been laid out. On the other hand, Edwine's personal expenses, the ones he paid for with his own money, that's another story. Maelbjorn leans over the document, and I do the same, trying to read what's on it. The prince is quicker than me at this little game.
These are the names of the arena fighters who were at my birthday party.
Right next to the sums Edwine awarded them.
But they all received a salary from the kingdom, in addition to the tournament prizes.
Which makes the transaction all the more suspicious.
Where are they now?
The spy mistress shrugs helplessly, glancing briefly at her son. We didn't think it necessary to follow some unknown warriors. There are too many of them who come and go in the city. The question remains, why were they paid directly by Edwine? They're only names and numbers. The old squirrel was smart enough not to leave any information on that side. But if he tried to burn those papers, it means they weren't up to anything good. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Aeon joining us, and he greets me with a brief nod. If Melbourne hadn't intervened in time, all this information would have been lost for good.
And thank Eric most of all. He put in even more effort than I did.
The white tiger simply nods in my direction, or turns his attention back to a document he's holding in his hands. Would it kill him to say thank you for once? As I feared, this document proves that Edwine had also interfered in certain matters concerning Mechat. He was paying soldiers at all the border posts, which may explain the lack of information we had about our dear neighbours. So, Edwine was working for Mechat.
For or with him. But he was surely not the only one. Treason on this scale necessarily involves the noble families.
Let's not jump to conclusions, Melion. You know the dangers of making accusations without proof.
And I also know the dangers of inaction.
The father and son glare at each other, but do not take the argument any further, as Semi steps between them and speaks in a sharp tone. I have the life of a son at stake in this matter, so save your family quarrels for later. I imagine my confusion is obvious when Odu smiles at me and shakes his head. She's not talking about me. I have a brother in Mechat. Keta is... He's our main link to the country since he decided to go back there. We haven't heard from him in a while. Do you think he could have been discovered because of Edwine? The documents don't say anything about that at the moment. A heavy silence descends on the room as Semi casts a desperate glance at Odu, who puts an arm around his shoulder. Those bastards better not touch a hair on Kata's head. We'll have their opportunity to respond to Mechat's behaviour in due time. Don't worry about it.
What about the delegation? We're supposed to act as if nothing has happened, even though they're within these walls.
What do you plan to do? Hang them on the ramparts in full view of the city so that everyone can see them?
We could take them hostage to demand a few answers from Mechat.
Though Athea Jahoot isn't worth much in the eyes of the traitor king who sits on the throne there, and she'll be seen as one less obstacle by the other heirs. In other words, I'll let her die in our prisons rather than do anything for her. And I won't take the risk of starting a war based on assumptions.
We have more than assumptions. We have proof the enemy is actively working to destroy us. War will come whether we want it or not.
The bear's voice echoes throughout the room, whereas the scholars present are doing their best to look away and pretend nothing is happening, but their ears are pricked up, listening intently to the discussion. But despite the rage boiling inside the bear, Aeon remains calm. And I would even say the hint of sadness can be heard in his voice when he finally responds. Well, may this war come as late as possible. You haven't seen or experienced conflict. You don't even know what the word war means. All you have are theories and stories in your books. Your father and I have been through horrors you can't even imagine, and thus surely wouldn't want you or anyone else to have to go through a similar experience. The prince seems somewhat distraught. I can see him struggling between the desire to get even more upset and the wish to calm things down. But in the end, the second option wins out.
I can't stand being unable to do anything. I feel like a spectator in my own kingdom.
And I understand your frustration. There will be a time for action. But for now, we must keep a cool head. Believe me, kid, I'm the first one who wants to slip a knife between that Jahoot's ribs. They could have too many repercussions let our desires take over.
You said it yourself. She's a minor Athea. How bad can it be if we capture or even kill her?
Her death will have no impact on Mechat, as already said. On the other hand, some of her compatriots will be more than happy to use an excuse to declare war on us once and for all. Do our southern neighbours really want this war? It's a complex subject, and we could probably spend hours discussing it. For now, it's Edwine we're interested in. The tiger heads back to the table where the documents have been restored. We follow close behind. One of the Anthicans studying them hands us what appears to be a very short letter, which the king reads thoroughly. Edwine managed to get his hands on the shipment of inkstones, and he had it sent to Mechat. Still no name for the recipient, but there is a letter. An M.
The number of atrocities they'll be capable of with even a single stone.
Yet you have banned the mining of inkstones for some time now, my king. Indeed. Which means he has been plotting with the enemy for several years at the very least.
Well, I just a rushing when we're finally getting close to the truth. Well, that's strange.
He was old, so maybe he wasn't all there anymore and paranoia was eating away at him? I don't know. Every time I dealt with him, he seemed more or less sane to me. The crazy look the squirrel gave me for being devoured by the flames makes me doubt my own words somewhat, but in general, he seemed stable. Maybe he was pressed for time?
How so?
Well, the fighters he paid for your birthday, we don't know yet why they were paid. He's clearly planning something that required muscle, and as far as we know, they haven't acted yet.
If Edwin only wanted muscle, any mercenary from Frostfang would have done the job. I've been much less suspicious to pay them.
The prince frowns thoughtfully as his gaze wanders over the paper.
Perhaps he needs a level of loyalty the mercenary couldn't provide.
That doesn't explain why he was in such a hurry that he fell in such a crude trap. It's always nice to receive compliments.
On the contrary, I think it would make perfect sense. Gladiators are foreigners and under Frostfang's direct command, in addition to being professional soldiers.
This event was for sure the best way to bring foreign soldiers into the capital without attracting unwanted attention. And no one knows if they left afterwards.
What I'm also getting is Edwin didn't just need muscle, he needed warriors.
There aren't enough of them to do anything major.
Indeed. So we'll be looking at some kind of special operation. Something that requires a certain amount of preparation, a small number of personnel, so that as few people as possible are aware of it.
That's the best way to avoid leaks. And that kind of operation also requires extraordinary precision.
Whatever Edwin had planned, he's going to have to act very, very soon.
We all stare at each other, as if trying to grasp the urgency of the situation. And it's Aeon who's the first to clap his hands to bring us all back to reality. Melbion, Eric, I want you to go see Brace in the dungeons. With any luck, he'll have something to share in exchange for his release. Is he involved in this?
If anyone is, it's him.
He's one of Mechad's most vocal supporters, or on the ones that are still alive at least. Enough chatter, we must move quickly. Semi, you'll continue to search through these documents. Let's hope you find more information. Yes, my king. As for me, I'll take charge of the guard. We'll comb the city in search of these arena fighters. Should we call in reinforcements from outside? We don't know yet how compromised the army is, so I prefer to rely on those we can trust. If Edwin playing his cards right, isn't there a risk the Royal Guard will also be compromised, especially since Caluthan's attack? We've been keeping a close eye on Edwin since you confirmed our fears about him, so I doubt he'd have attempted anything so risky, even if Gideon wasn't there to check on every new recruit.
Well, I personally oversaw the hire of the replacements. They're all veterans who have put their lives on the line for the kingdom by battling the organised bands that roam the country. We can't trust such anthracans, then I doubt we can trust anyone.
Unfortunately, we don't have the luxury of being suspicious of everyone. These words weigh heavily on the atmosphere in the room, but fortunately Melbiorn breaks the awkward silence.
Rather, I'd also like to inform Tenok of the situation. The nobles will be less inclined to rebel if they learn that we have Khazar's full support.
A good idea, but make sure it doesn't reach his brother's ears too quickly, if possible.
I'm not sure I trust him either after our meeting. Tenok remains our safest bet, if we shouldn't rule out any possibilities.
Good. I think we've covered everything that could be covered for now. Global Khazarian diplomacy will have to wait, I'm afraid. Aeon heads for the exit before giving us a piercing look. We have no more time to waste. Good luck to all, and may the gods be with you. Then he disappears, and Semi follows close behind. Melbiorn and I stared at each other a moment as I tried to understand the whole situation.
This is a bloody mess.
The prince begins to head for the exit. I follow him closely, speaking to him in a low voice so that no one else can hear. Are we supposed to get Brace to talk? Though this simple promise of release will be enough for him, especially if he thinks he can gain more by betraying the kingdom.
He's a coward. If he refuses this offer, I'll just threaten him directly.
You're only going to threaten him, right? As I say this, I give the bear my most reproachful look. He just smiles back at me.
We'll see. Well, believe me, everything that happens to him is well deserved.
You keep telling me that, without ever explaining why.
This time it's Melbjorn's turn to look at me with his usual jaded expression as he sighs so loudly it becomes a growl.
I'm just protecting you by not going into details. I faced a monster and now we potentially have a whole rebellion on our hands. Do you really think a few words are going to upset me?
I won't discuss this any further.
At the bend in the corridor, I realized that we were finally alone, with no prying ears to disturb us. So with all my strength I throw myself against the prince, hoping to stop him in his tracks. But all I managed to do was smash my shoulder against his armour. Ouch!
What were you hoping to accomplish,
Seeing the bear's half-haughty, half-playful expression, I feel my blood boil, so I start humming, which is enough to make him stop.
Eric, don't even try that.
What if I do it anyway? I finish my little song before freezing his boots, and the bear pulls on them before quickly stopping when he realises it won't work. Then he crosses his arms and growls, his round ears flapping in the air.
We don't have time for this kind of childishness.
You can make it very quick.
Or if someone walks by.
Just act like nothing happened.
Ugh.
Under Melbjorn's increasingly grumpy gaze, I just pretend nothing is happening, looking at the length of my claws or waving my big ears innocently. Then the prince sighs again, rubbing his eyes.
Well, I guess I have no choice.
Indeed.
But you won't tell anyone.
I promise.
Good. We know from reliable sources that Brace, in addition to consorting with Mechad, was also a tyrant in his lands long before my fathers came to power. He mistreated his subjects, and I'm not talking about simple executions. He had innocent people tortured in the worst possible ways.
As I release my powers, I can't but feel a sense of guilt wash over me. And your fathers kept him as a lord despite knowing that?
It was precisely because they knew what he'd done that they kept him. They saw it as the perfect means of pressure on a lord who would never rebel. Of course, they made him promise never to do it again, and as far as I know, he kept his word. But the damage is done.
And why didn't you want to tell that to me? How did you not know and protect me? The prince lowers his gaze as his ears flatten against his head.
I don't know. I was hoping to protect what little innocence you had left, that's all. And somewhere deep down, I think I'm ashamed too. Ashamed of having to keep these kinds of secrets. And ashamed we have to resort to these kinds of methods if we want to keep this kingdom together.
Faced with the bear's resentment, I can only feel moved, so I approach him to stroke his muzzle while trying to catch his eye. You have nothing to be ashamed of. It's your father's choice, not yours. And besides, deep down, it speaks of me that you didn't kill him, so I share that burden.
No, that was my choice and no one else's. He deserved to be executed on the spot, but not like that. Not in front of everyone.
Maybe he deserved it, maybe not. But the fact is, he's alive now and we need him. So, how do we proceed? The prince resumes his walk towards the jails while answering me.
Let me handle it. The prospect of his release is enough for Brace, then perhaps it's time to remind him what we know about his favourite pastime.
If he was really planning to betray the kings in favour of Mechad, something tells me that won't be enough. And finally we arrive in the hallway in front of the prison, which is even more crowded with guards than usual. They immediately salute when they see Melbjorn, and he nods to them before entering.
You can rest.
Then someone appears who I never expected to see in such a place. Look who's here! The ambassador is surrounded by guards with big smiles on their faces, at least until they see the prince. Once they do, they all become dead serious again, except for the lizard. Ah, the Frostians and their love for discipline. But what are you doing here, dear prince?
Just a routine visit, nothing more. I'd like to know how Kerathan's avatar is doing.
Oh, so that's why Tenok is here. The ambassador motions us to approach as the soldiers return to their posts. He guides us to a particularly reinforced cell. It has no bars, but is armoured with plates of metal that shine with an orange glow. He hasn't moved a hair, or a scale. I'm not sure, he's got a bit of everything. As I try to approach the door, Melbjorn pulls me by the arm, and find myself instantly pressed against him.
We're here for Brace, actually.
Oh? Why make such a mystery of it?
The situation's escalating quickly, and we could very soon find ourselves facing a rebellion if we don't nip it in the bud.
As he is summarising what's in Edwine's documents, the bear paces back and forth in front of Tenoch. I'll write a letter to my father. If I ask him to prepare troops at the border, I'm sure he'll not refuse you this help if things go really wrong. But until then, I'm afraid it'll be up to Frostfang to manage its own problems.
That's all we ask. We would like to avoid foreign interference as much as possible, even if it comes from a friendly country.
Perfect. And, Melbjorn? I hope your little meeting with Hopper went well. The ambassador simply smiles at the bear, who rolls his eyes.
You invited my father, who then sent me to take care of it. You know very well where I stand when it comes to Ghazal.
I just hope you won't keep secrets from me in the future. I hate being cheated on for another Anthracan. In a split second, Melbjorn blushes under his fur and shoots me an embarrassed look.
Don't use such words in this context, Tenoch.
This time the lizard's gaze turns toward me. That's true. I wouldn't want to make anyone jealous, after all. Then he winks at me, so almost throws me off balance as well. Maybe you're the one who should end up behind bars. I smile back at him, hoping he will continue down this path, tempting as it may be.
Anyway, how's Vekka doing?
He's been quieter lately. It's almost as if he's waiting for something.
Well, let's hope it doesn't spell trouble for us.
Can't at least take a look at his cell.
I'd rather not risk stirring anything up in him.
I'm not even sure this place will be able to hold him, are we?
Well, let's not give him another reason to test its limits, then.
That's why I'm here. One wrong move and I'll roast him in there like a delicious piece of venison in an oven.
Well, that's in poor taste.
I'm just trying to lighten the mood. While Melbjorn is busy lecturing Tenoch, I take the opportunity to peek through the door leading to Vekkad's cell. At first it seems completely dark, then I start to see something as my vision adjusts to the darkness. Two bright yellow eyes stare at me from the depths of the room. A shiver runs through me and my hair stands on end as I step back, overcome by instinctive fear. Then the bear's arm closes around me again, making me jump.
You shouldn't be playing like that, Eric.
I understand his curiosity. Not even sure if there's anything left of Vekkad in there after all.
We have other more pressing problems to deal with anyway. I need you here to make sure this one doesn't add to the rest.
And I am at your command, O Prince. The ambassador sends a mocking smile to the bear, who raises his snout to the ceiling with a sigh, then continues on his way to Bray's cell. Tenoch is more relaxed than I'd have thought.
That's his way of dealing with stress. I just hope it doesn't make him lose sight of his mission.
I thought you trusted him.
As an ambassador, yes. As a guard, not so much.
And finally we find ourselves in front of the goat's cell, who's busy reading on his bed.
Brace, we need to talk.
And the royal bard has to be there too?
Yes.
As slowly as possible, the lord puts down his book before approaching the bards with a sardonic look on his face. Have you changed your mind about my release?
Well, that will depend on you. We call Edwine. His personal library was full of more than interesting information.
I don't know if Brace is good at hiding his reaction or if he really doesn't know what's going on, but in any case he's at least curious, judging by his raised eyebrows. What kind of information?
The kind of information that could shake up the kingdom a bit, and also the kind of information that incriminates you.
Even though I know full well the prince is lying, I also understand it's part of the game. Whatever Melbjorn's goal may be, it causes the Lord of Kermar to respond in a curt tone. Accuse me directly of the evidence you have. Don't bother coming here.
You don't have much to lose, Brace. You have a lot to gain by helping us.
I don't see what you're trying.
A foul gurgling sound escapes from the goat's throat as a grimace distorts his face. He then goes into convulsions, and Melbjorn reaches to the bars to pull him toward him in a panic. Speak!
What the?
Just then Brace is about to open his mouth to reply. A huge bird's beak bursts from between his lips, tearing his jaw apart in a fountain of blood that splatters us. The prince immediately steps back, grabbing his axe as black wings forcefully emerge from the back of the Lord of Kermar, shattering his bones. Guards! Lastra's brand! As I turn to see if Tenoch and the soldiers are coming to our aid, I realize that the corridor is darker than when we arrived. The torches have gone out, and the place is only now lit by the glow of the lizard's brand. And only the sound of twisted metal of cries of pain reaches. It's only when the ambassador summons his flames we understand the horror of the situation. The shadows came to life in grotesque forms, neither truly anthrocan nor truly animal, but all more or less avian, and they devoured the guards if they were mere pieces of meat. Bodies are torn apart, and blood is spilled. Not again, please. Not again. Then Tenoch's desperate cry echoes through the corridor as his flames swirl in front of him. Forgive me! In a fraction of a second, a jet of flames pours towards the monstrous forms, engulfing both the shadows and the soldiers, whose piercing cries intensify. The heat crashes down on my snout. I barely have time to take in the situation, while Melbjorn pushes me aside so hard that I find myself on the ground. Turning around, I see that the bear is fighting with the creature that came out of Brace, using his powers over the shadows to tear pieces off it here and there. As fear gnaws in my guts, I close my eyes to find some semblance of peace, a small island of tranquility that would allow me to do what? I'm just prey. Am I even capable of stopping shadows? They're not really tangible. And here I'm trying to find excuses not to try. No. I fought Kaluthan. I can do this. The shadows that temporarily vanished on Tenoch's side reform as I see the lizard retreat in surprise. I have to do this. My muscles relax and I find the strength to move again. And immediately begin to sing, thinking of the circles of my brand. As the shadow attacking Melbjorn prepares to plunge its beak into his armour, I focus on it, making it impenetrable even to such a monstrosity. The attack is deflected. Unfortunately, the monster does not press its assault. Then in the next instant I release the prince so as not to hinder him, even though his chest plate is now dented. He's too preoccupied to even realise what is happening on the other side, as hundreds of beaks swirl in the massive incoherent shadows in our direction. But this time, in the middle of the mass, an anthrocan shape appears, though I'm unable to see who it is. Screaming in rage, Tenoch sends a new wave of flames crashing into the distorted creatures. But they continue to advance in our direction, slowly but surely. Little by little, the glow of the ambassador's flames dims as he gives me a panicked look. I can't fight them, not without killing us all. And as Tenoch's attention is focused on me, one of the sharp beaks breaks away from the monstrous crowd and closes around the lizard's left arm, cutting it cleanly off. Tenoch, screaming in pain, stumbles backward as a pool of blood forms beneath what is now a stump. All I can see next is Melbjorn finally decapitating his shadow opponent while stepping between the lizard and the dark creatures. I see him bring his axe down the lock of Vekad's cell, and the feeling that time itself is slowing down grips my gut. Okay, everyone, breathe slowly. In and out. I think we all need a breather after that. Wow, that was getting intense towards the end. Really can't wait for the next episode. I want to find out what's going on there. Yeah, I am actually out of breath after doing all that there. I'll make a cup of tea after. Yeah, well, things are really getting intense here, and it is great. I'm really enjoying this VN. Great job, everyone, working on it. Really impressed me with this. And I still need to go and read through more of the other routes as well, when I have time.
Of course, NeveN does have its own Patreon. You can follow them on Blue Sky as well. I put links in the description, so you can do all that stuff. And yeah, go and support them if you can. It's a really worthwhile cause, supporting a great VN. And talking about VNs and stuff, Minotaur Hotel just got a public update just this morning or so as I'm recording this. So I haven't even looked at it yet, but I will be figuring out where that can fit into the schedule in October. I'm not quite sure when, but certainly October, maybe early October. I need to rearrange everything because I have everything planned out to the middle of November. And then this happens. So yeah, I'll figure things out. And you can be sure we'll be returning to Minotaur Hotel before too long. And of course, we now have to wait for the next public release of Mail Beyond's route for NeveN. But as soon as I can get to it within reason, I will be recording that one. See when it comes out there. And as always, at this point, I want to say quick thanks to all my donors on Ko-fi and Patreon. You're so appreciated. And my top patrons are Andy Peng, Aaron Fox, Bastian, Bieka, Brian Hall, Gobers Visser, Dissonance, Exact, Grizz, Harvest Mouse Productions, Evan King, Kartek, Matt Kenya, Omar, Rafu, Spiderling, Smuto, Tiger Cub, Aram Amaterasu, Greylock, Highly Find, Lark Huskerton, and Gracious Yevon. So special thanks to all of you, and thanks to everyone who does support the channel, even if all you do is watch it. That accounts for a lot, trust me. If you weren't watching this stuff, why'd I really bother doing it? Yeah, it's fun, but let's not do it by myself. And of course, I do have a Discord related to my Patreon, and if you want to do some things coming up for Halloween, maybe a few ghost stories, play some Phasmophobia and stuff with patrons. We're going to figure all that one out as we go along. But yeah, that is it for now. Socially Awkward is the next video next weekend. That's Rask's route. We'll continue with that. We have some more Echo coming up. And then, of course, we'll have Minotaur Hotel, some more Chenye. And some tennis days is going to be coming up in the month as well. A few things coming up there. But yeah, that is it for NeveN. I've rambled on for long enough. I think we should all be calm enough now, but I'm still going to make a cup of tea. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.